first videos that I ever edited and uploaded to YouTube was a walkthrough of this mobile workbench right here. There's been some time from that video until now, and so I've been able to make some upgrades. My wife and my family and I recently moved into a new house in May of this year, and I have a dedicated 2-car garage workshop, and I've got a little bit more space, and so I wanted to make some more upgrades because I'm doing things on a little bit bigger scale right now. The upgrades that I'm going to go through and everything, I'm just going to walk through just like I did with version 1, because just like version 1, when I was building it and I didn't know what I was going to do, I was just going to kind of build as I went and figure out what worked in the moment. Pretty much the same thing here for version 2 of this mobile workbench. I just kind of added some things here and there, made some things work for a vacuum system and whatnot. Right now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and walk through all of the upgrades that I did from version 1 to version 2 and just kind of find out and let you guys know what things are working well right now and what things I might add or upgrade later in the future for version 3. And then also might mention some things that I probably wouldn't do that again if I had started back at version 1. So here we go, let's go ahead and walk through. First off, my apologies if there's a little bit of shakiness in the camera. I am walking around with it, so let's see what we got. Alright, just like version 1, we've got a router table on the left, table saw in the middle, and then we've got the planer over here on the right side. Got enough clearance up above to be able to take it the full 6 inches that it can go up. So let's talk about what we upgraded here. Some of the obvious things. Version 1 honestly went from only here all the way over to here. As you can tell, that darker piece of MDF with the cutout. The reason that cutout is there, just so you're aware if you're tuning in for the first time, is so that fence on the table saw, it's on a rack and pinion, and it can glide through. That way I can take it the full 24 inches that it can go off to the right. Another thing that I upgraded on the top was these sides right here. Okay, there's an in-feed table and then this big old out-feed table right here. Let's get to the in-feed table first. Yes, it looks funky. There's too many pieces here. I don't really like that part so much. I'll talk about that later. The reason I left this gap open right here in the front was so I could get to these clips, and then also kind of peer down here and see where my on-off switch was, and then the up-down and the angle, and then also get to this rack and pinion guy. And then also, so this other part could slide all the way over the same distance that that other groove is cut out. There's the T-track in the front that I added, and a T-track in the back on that outfeed table that I added as well. Reason being is this table saw fence only has a rip capacity of 24 inches, and there have been times where I needed to rip anywhere between 24 and 48 inches for a sheet of plywood, and I'd always have to make some marks over here on the table with the tape measure going from the table saw blade, and I'd do 2 marks and then line up a piece of aluminum tubing, and that would pretty much be my fence, and I'd have to clamp over here in the front of the table, clamp over in the back of the table, and it just got to be way too inaccurate. So I went ahead and did the T-track and then got some of that cool stick-on tape measure that Craig makes, and then I got a 4-foot piece of aluminum angle iron, I guess. I know it's not iron, angle aluminum, 2-inch by 2-inch is what we got. Cut some slots in it and everything, so that way I can move this guy left and right and then make my cuts. I just set the measurement in the front, set the measurement in the back, and it works out so much better for the big cuts. For small cuts, I still use the aluminum fence on the table saw. One of the comments somebody had made before is, hey, that's a great setup and everything, but too bad you have the router table on the left and you can't rip much. This router table fence is removable, so I can take that bad boy off and take this table saw fence off, and then the entire bench is flat if I need to assemble something or lay a plastic drape over it to paint or coat or stain anything. So that's the good part. Another thing that I added, some of you guys might see that little hole there, that's actually part of the vacuum system. So that way I take a hose and then link it up to the router table fence, and then I can get that dust collection for the router table. I'm making a separate video for the dust collection, so key in with that one in a little bit. Other thing that I added, outfeed table. This puppy is, I want to say, about 21 inches wide or so. The reason I added it, onto the back, and honestly the main reason for it was because of, if you can see that pipe right there, I've got a big dust collection system now on it to where I don't have to change the dust collector and the cyclone to each tool, as you may have noticed in the past. So I had to make it that deep because I've got all this PVC running back here, one Y for the planer and a blast gate, and I've got a Y over here to the table saw and a blast gate there as well, and then I've got this blast gate with some couplings to that hole in the workbench, and then down over here in the box. So that's kind of what I added vacuum system wise. I'll talk more about that later in the other video, but I had to make this big old piece on the back end so that way I could hang the vacuum system off of it, and it's working really, really well. Just did some supports here. I pretty much copied the same thing, a 3/4 inch piece of plywood matched up with a 3/4 inch piece of MDF, and then put a 2x4 down there running across for support, and then put down 4 angled 2x4s. There you can see them, 1, 2, 3, 4 to support the outside, and then put a couple more horizontal pieces tied into the main part of the workbench that I already built. So that way I don't get any wiggle movement in the top piece or this 2x4 support that's at an angle. All right. Still got those cabinets in the back. They're a little bit harder to get to now, but that's okay. Mainly some router tools that I don't use as much. Same thing with the back over here, these drawers. This one did have my dado blades in it, but now it's just got some table saw boxes. I'll put something in there later. This one on the left has a couple template pieces for some zero clearance inserts, and then some 12-inch blades for the compound miter saw. Let's walk around over here to this side, the router table part. This is what I really upgraded before, because last time I believe it was pretty open, and that was kind of a huge pain in the butt for dust collection, because I put the dust collection on the back and everything, and I wanted it to be as clean as possible in here. I fully enclosed the router in this box. So we've got a couple latches here, and we'll go ahead and open it up, and there's the router. So we've got the router in there. I pretty much sealed this whole thing up through some different pieces of wood, filled in pretty much all the gaps except for what's at the top, which is really not bad, because if air comes in that direction, that's exactly where I want the sawdust to go. So down and then into the port. Got some collections here. Someday in the future I might put a little slant to where it slants down over here to the port, but that's all good for now. Then I also added some of that little stick-on foam weather strip all the way around the door, so that way it's sealed nicely around this little frame here that I put. Another thing that I added before I go to this drawer down here is just a little bitty piece. I want to say it's about 1 inch and change wide piece of 1/4 inch plywood. Yes, it's red oak, it's just because that's what I had at the moment. So that way any dust that did come out right here, just like that, it wouldn't get in the drawer when I opened it. Okay, so there's that guy. I've had this safety start-stop switch on here before, and it's working out pretty well, so I'm going to keep it. It's nice to where you don't have to flip the button on the router. Last little thing on this side is this drawer that I built and put in underneath the router. It's got all the router accessories. Got some bit storage here that both of these guys on top remove, and then I can get to other bits that are down at the bottom. Okay, so we got a good amount of bits. Getting my collection. Rockler just had a 30% off Black Friday sale, so I stocked up on about 8 more bits. But that's good, that's coming along. The only thing is like height issues and everything, so that's why I have these 2 different levels for these 2 different top pieces. Then I got all sorts of different things here. Here's that hose that hooks up to the router fence over there, and then the table. And then just all the other accessories, the wrenches for the router, the Porter cable router wrenches, and then the Hitachi router wrenches, and then just all sorts of little things that we got. So there is that drawer with some soft close hinges, or I'm sorry, soft close drawer slides. That's the way to go. Power. My power was on the back of the workbench last time. Here's the front of the workbench. It was on the other side of the router box. I had dust collection going in here, and I didn't want to I guess get all the cords over there as well, so I decided to bring it on the front, and honestly that makes a little bit more sense because that's where I'm at when I'm standing over here at the table saw on the planer doing all the infeed. So I got this four-way extension that allows me to plug some things in. I know I've got the router in here, the planer in here, and the table saw in here, whichever one is which. We got our power on and off, and it's off right now. I added, because of this in-feed table, it sticks out, I don't know, I want to say a good 9 inches or so from the front of that table saw. Reaching my hand up under here to turn on and off the table saw is kind of a pain, and I don't want to ever slip or miss that, or something crazy is going on and not be able to touch it. So I put in another safety start stop switch over here at the front, which this one's nice because when I hit start, let's say I'm feeding over here on the left side of the blade, what I can do is I can just bump my hip up against the stop, and then I'm good. Okay. Nothing else different there. It's just, you know, added a couple little features. Same thing, cabinets in the front, those are working out well. And then lastly, we've got the drawers, added a little push block, made a crappy zero clearance insert. I need to practice and get better at that. And then just all sorts of other random crap for the table saw. And then over here, I decided to put the table saw blades, and I still have to figure this guy out. But I've got some hinges on this little box back here. And so I want to make some kind of mechanism where this guy lifts up when the drawer opens up, so that way I can get all these blades out here. I've got dado blades in the bottom. That metal blade is falling down. That kind of sucks. That's just for the junk chop saw, and then just other, you know, all right blades. So there's all the additions. One last tiny final thing. I said I had the power over here at the front. Here's this yellow extension cord where I'm getting my power from. If there's anyone out there that's an electrical person that, you know, knows the ins and outs of safety or how to do something better, please let me know. I'm going to walk through how I've got this extension cord, and it kind of goes fairly close-ish to the vacuum system hose. And I just don't know if static electricity and electricity in a cord is going to do anything funky. So if anybody's out there, let me know if you have any tips or comments or concerns for me to change it. So here is where that cord is at and kind of how it snakes through. All right, there's that electrical cord. It goes back up here and then behind to the back of the table. Let's go and walk around and see where that guy's at. Comes up right there, goes over that horizontal support, back over here, across that other horizontal support, and then down. And I've got it hooked to a little spring because if I ever move the bench, I want to be able to have a little bit of give in this cord. And then it goes straight up. I've got probably closest point right there, might be about 6 inches or so from that hose. And then it goes up to the ceiling on a hook, over on another hook, coming down, excuse the lighting, to another hook, down through the table, and then down into that outlet right there. So I know that's kind of a long run, but if anybody's got any safety concerns for that or anything to make that better, my only concern is this cord being close-ish to the hose, if that's going to cause any interference or anything like that. But I made sure to go around the PVC up there and then come down to where nothing was flat out touching. And there's the walkthrough of version 2 of the mobile workbench. Moves around, has wheels and everything. Things can be disconnected. I can take the hose off for the vacuum system, unplug the cord, snake it back through if I need to move it around. Moving it from the old house to this house actually wasn't too bad. I just took off the table saw on the planer just because it was a beast. It's freaking heavy. The bottom, once again, is 1x3 steel tubing. It's got some casters, has a lot of wood on it and everything for the cabinets and the drawers and stuff like that. But it's manageable to be able to move and slide around and whatnot. Now that I added the infeed and outfeed table, I might be maxing out the caster weight. I honestly can't remember how much those casters can hold, but one day I might have to either get stronger ones or maybe even remove them entirely and just make this bench stationary in the shop. One of the things that I would do differently, and this is going to come for version 3, is make the top one continuous piece. What that will mean is I'll probably even just take the router table top completely off and then make that, I don't know, double stacked MDF or something, route out the rectangle for the plate, and attach the router and everything, make those adjustments. And then also for the in-feed and out-feed table and everything, since they're separate pieces, I got as stinking close as I could to make everything level. But some things, there's just a little bit of bump, and then I noticed in the original part of the table, I've got just a couple little waves in there that I don't really like at all. Not that big of a deal, but when I'm starting to make more accurate cuts and everything like that, to where I need 100% precision, it's kind of inhibiting that. So one of the things that I'll do in the future is just do a complete solid top. I know a 4x8 sheet of MDF won't quite cover it, so I might have to do a couple pieces, but I don't think that will be that big of a deal with like cutouts and everything. But that's pretty much the main thing that I would do later on in the future. Other than that, I love the bench. It's working out great. Having the power switch to where everything's plugged in. I don't have to plug anything into my extension cord. Just run one tool at a time, and that's good. With the vacuum system, I honestly just open up and close different blast gates to tell me, or to suck air through an individual tool that I'm going to be using. If I'm going to switch from the table saw to the planer, or the planer to the router table, it really doesn't matter because it's just an easy, quick switch. Thank you guys for checking in, and if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns about maybe the way that I did anything, please leave a comment down in the comments below. I'll also add a link to the version 1 mobile workbench that I uploaded, so that way you guys can check it out, see how it's progressed. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I always appreciate your feedback. So y'all take it easy and keep in tune for a couple more videos that are coming around the same time. Details of the vacuum system, and then a shop tour of kind of what I've got right now. So y'all take care.